I feel like North Carolina basketball fans watch their basketball team go to Charlottesville with some sort of hard substance ready to go. Bourbon, beer, something you can smoke. Because at this point, it's not a matter of can the Tar Heels win in Charlottesville. It's how are they going to lose in Charlottesville? And yesterday, you can chalk it up to not having Pete Nance from the go, losing Armando Bacot to an ankle twist or whatever that was. I know that some reports, including from Jeff Goodman at Stadium, that x-rays came back on the ankle negative, which is good. This is not the same ankle that he hurt during the Final Four and that quadruple overtime loss to Alabama. It's the other ankle. So I guess that's positive. But without Armando Bacot from the jump, they had to go deep into the reserves. Was it Jalen Washington got some quality minutes, put up some quality play. But Giglio, to me, in the second half, the reason why Virginia was able to get over on the Tar Heels is that Virginia, regardless of what you think of their offense, very disciplined team. And the Tar Heels can get a little sloppy, and they'll make you pay for that sloppiness. I think they had 13 total turnovers last night. Their offense got away from them, and they ended up losing the game, even though they made it somewhat interesting towards the end.
Yeah, the key to beating Virginia is getting them out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
When they're up 9 points in the second half, that is directly in their wheelhouse. They're going to run the shot clock all the way down. They're going to defend you like it's, tooth and death on every possession, especially in their place. There was a shot clock violation at some point there because I watched the whole second half.
Right.
And the place starts going bananas with the shot clock violation. And I'm like,
so
that's actually when I knew the game was over.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the thing about Carolina, and I it's hard, first of all, to lose Armando Bacot in the first minute of the game.
Of course.
You can have the Dean Smith rule and say to Jalen Washington, "Hey, man, I need you to step up today," because you look at the kid, he's got some potential there. We haven't seen a lot of them,
but he's like a baby fawn,
Yeah.
He's figuring things out.
You could see why was recruited there. You could see why he's on the team.
Of course.
And the points that he scored in the first half, like that's not a fluke. But you have to prepare for that. You need the extra practice time to prepare for that. North Carolina's probably not good enough on the road to withstand the loss of to have a bad game out of Caleb Love, let alone have a bad game out of Caleb Love and an injured Armando Bacot against a good team. It's not going to happen. It's just not where they are. It's not who they are.
We don't know how long Armando Bacot's going to be out of the lineup. They do get some sort. I guess if there's such a thing as a break in the schedule, it would be Louisville, right?
Yeah,
that would be the break in the schedule. I don't look at Boston College as a break in the schedule, but
especially not there.
No. So they do get Louisville next. They should be able to beat the Cardinals without Armando Bacot. But I think though,
but Carolina is not a game-to-game proposition. We have to stop looking at Carolina as a game-to-game proposition. That's not what this season is about.
Explain.
That's not who they are. Like, okay, they went to Virginia and lost. Fine. They went to Pitt and lost. Fine. They have the wins that they have. Let's do the old, if the NCAA tournament started today, they'd be in it.
Sure.
Okay?
Of course.
That's good. Would they win the NCAA tournament if it started today? The answer to that unequivocally is no. And what they need to do over the next 2 months is they need to figure out what's going on with Puff Johnson. They need to figure out how can we get more out of Seth Trimble. And then, of course, we haven't even talked about Pete Nance, who's also injured. So they need all of their parts. They need all of their parts going. Because right now, they are the simplest team in the history of the world to solve. They have 3 good players. And if all 3 of them don't play well, they're not going to win the basketball game. Hard stop, end of story, move it along to the next point.
Sure.
Okay? But they're not here to beat Virginia. They're not here to even beat Duke. They're not here to even win the ACC. They're here to win the national championship. They're here to win the NCAA tournament.
This is where I think that's a mistake. This is where I disagree. I understand what you're saying on a game-to-game basis, and we're looking at the totality of UNC. But if we truly believe them to be national title contenders, they got to turn it on now. You can't turn it on when the NCAA tournament. Let's take last year out of the equation. Okay. We got to stop talking about last year.
Okay.
You want to talk about propositions and we talk about the Tar Heels. We need to stop discussing last year as though it's something that can be replicated. It cannot. They are taking how special last year was for granted. Not you. I'm saying the general thought that this is a team that, man, they just got to get to March. No, you're not good enough to just turn it on in March. This is largely the same team that we saw last year, which was just okay. And then they got on a hot one. You telling me you can do that again? I don't think I'm being an ass when I say that this North Carolina team is okay. They're an okay team. I really truly think that. And to your point, I do agree with you. When their three best players are on, well then yeah, they're going to beat a good chunk of teams. The problem is they can't consistently do it. And then when you throw on top of that the injuries and everything else, I feel like there's always an excuse for the Tar Heels this year. Always one.
Sure.
There's always some sort of context that you can place, going all the way back to when everybody was freaking out about the road trips and everything else. Do you think it's going to get any easier in March? There's no context in March. There's no context in the NCAA tournament. You win or you go home. There's a plane waiting for you, Joe. They might not get on it.
You're a Ken Pom fan.
Yes.
Okay? And Ken Pom is it's a cold numbers world. After the Final Four last year, when Puff Johnson was thrust into a larger role and delivered in that larger role, it was not unfair to expect this season for Puff Johnson to be somebody who could help this basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
Again, these are not my words. This is the category from Ken Pom. You have players, right? Go-to guys, Armando Bacot.
Right. Major
contributor, Caleb Love. Mm-hmm. Significant contributor, RJ Davis. You have to scroll all the way down to, this is not me being a Carolina hater. By the way, I don't hate Carolina basketball. Mm. This is not me being a Carolina hater. This is Ken Pom, because he's used in less than 12% of the possessions. The words for Puff Johnson, who should be a significant contributor on this team, nearly invisible.
Yeah.
So I'm going to sum up for you Carolina's season. All right? When I say to you, you're right, it's not just one game. But they have to figure out how to get Seth Trimble, how to get Puff Johnson, and either Dontrez Styles or DeMarco Dunn into being guys that help the team win basketball games. Otherwise, you are in the equation of, did Caleb Love go berserk? Did RJ Davis go berserk? Did Armando Bacot have his usual double-double? And without those three things, then they don't win. But there are other ways to win. It is now up to Hubert Davis to figure out how to get those other players, because this is one thing that Roy Williams was absolutely the best in the damn business at.
Yeah.
You know what Seth Trimble's going to be next year under normal circumstances? He's going to be their point guard. He's going to be really freaking important to them. So, but the points and the parts of him being great next year are about getting the minutes and the experience this year. And that's where Hubert needs to call Roy and have a conversation with him. How do I get this kid going? How do I get more of these guys involved? And how do I push this team? Because you're right. Last year was a one-off, even though you have the same players.
Mm-hmm. You're missing one.
Minus a very important one.
Missing one key guy.
Everyone has to run their own race to bring this all back to all of our triangle sayings. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I was going to say, you want to put a bingo card together for me, Joe. I could put a bingo card together for you.